My name is Steven. When I was a student, I was an incredibly daring and energetic guy. I couldn't sit still. I was always eager for thrills and new adventures. I often made jokes and pranked my friends, never taking things too seriously. One summer, my friends and I decided to go on a holiday to the countryside. We spent our days swimming in the river and camping in the mountains, enjoying the beauty of nature. On the last day of our trip, we decided to go on one last hike. After packing the necessary things, we set off on the winding mountain trails, climbing higher and higher. We had never climbed this far before, and the thrill of the unknown intoxicated us. Along the way, we came across a mysterious cave. Intrigued by its dark entrance, I suggested that my friends explore its depths. They hesitated, unsure of what lurked within. Just as we were contemplating our next steps, an old man appeared, seemingly out of nowhere. This old man was unlike anyone we had ever seen before. His face was weathered and wrinkled, and he was leaning on a staff for support. He approached us slowly, his every step deliberate. He told us that he lived nearby and warned us of the danger that lurked in the cave. According to him, evil demons dwell deep within the cave, and if disturbed would cause great harm. I couldn't help but laugh at his words, thinking them to be mere superstition. My friends, however, were not so easily persuaded. They looked at me with concern and fear, silently begging me to heed the old man's warning. As if in agreement with their unspoken request, the old man shook his head sadly, turned round and walked on, and after a moment vanished into thin air. As I stood there, I realized that my friends had made a decision. None of them wanted to enter the cave for fear of the unknown and possible consequences. Feeling a mixture of disappointment and bravado, I laughed at their reluctance, calling them all cowards. Without hesitation, I grabbed my lantern and headed into the cave alone. As I descended deeper into the cave, a feeling of overwhelming cold enveloped me. The air became cold, and the darkness seemed to swallow me whole. The only source of light was the flickering flame of the lantern in my hand, casting eerie shadows on the damp, moss-covered walls. Fear crept into my heart, but I pushed it aside, not wanting to show weakness. I was determined to prove that there was nothing to fear, that the old man's warnings were just fairy tales. Cautiously making my way down the narrow passage, I heard the distant sound of dripping water echoing in the darkness. The silence was broken only by the quiet crunch of my footsteps on the uneven ground. Suddenly I heard a faint whisper, barely audible in the silence. Goosebumps ran down my spine, but curiosity got the better of me, and I moved on. Youthful arrogance and a thirst for adventure clouded my judgment. I thought I was invincible. Nothing could harm me. When I reached the larger room, the whispers grew louder, echoing through the cavernous space. Shadows danced on the walls, taking on eerie shapes that seemed to taunt me. With each step, my heart pounded in my chest, but I moved forward, eager to prove a point. I reached the point where the path split into two, leading in different directions. Not knowing which way to go, I took the path on the left, guided by a strange instinct. The whispers grew more and more fierce as I moved through the darkness, but I ignored them, confident that I could defeat whatever lay ahead. The path ahead was getting narrower and narrower, and I had to duck to keep going. Suddenly, someone tugged on my shoulder. I turned around. A black silhouette was standing in front of me. Before I could see it, it had dissolved like a mist. I said to myself that maybe it was a sign that it was better not to go any further. But the stupidity of youth has no limits, I continued, on my way. The path was narrow, and further on there was an abyss. I walked, holding onto the wall. My hand fumbled for water dripping from the ceiling, and suddenly my foot slipped. I hit the wall with all my might, and then fell into the abyss. I woke up in the hospital. My head was bandaged. My arm was in plaster. My mom was sitting next to me. I asked her how I got here. She said that I was brought by the rescuers who were called by my friends. I tried to get up, but my head cracked with pain. My mom put me back down and told me not to make any extra movements until I felt better. Night came. I slept soundly as suddenly I was woken up by a voice. It was teasing me, laughing at me. I didn't understand where the voice was coming from. I asked who you were and what you needed. The voice said it had already got what it needed. I asked what it was. The voice said it was my subconscious and that we were neighbors now. I panicked, but reassured myself that it could be from a blow to the head and that it would soon pass. All night, I couldn't sleep. In the morning, the doctor came to see me. I asked him what was wrong with my head. He said it was nothing serious, just a concussion, and that it would go away soon. When they brought me breakfast, I ate a little, and then the voice interrupted my thoughts again, mocking and laughing at my predicament. He claimed it was his subconscious. Fear gripped me as I tried to realize what was happening. Was this the result of a head injury, or was it something more sinister? The voice seemed to have malicious intent, enjoying my discomfort and tormenting me with its presence. I couldn't get rid of the voice, no matter how hard I tried to ignore it or rationalize it. It haunted me throughout the day, constantly reminding me of my stupidity and the price I paid for my arrogance. Days turned into weeks, but the voice remained a constant companion. It whispered doubts and insecurities to me, amplifying my every fear and feeding on my vulnerability. The voice began to interfere with sleep, invading my dreams, turning them into nightmares that mirrored the reality of my waking life. Doctors and therapists tried to help me, assuring me it was a temporary side effect of the concussion. They prescribed medication and therapy, but nothing could drown out the voice. It continued, growing louder and more insidious. Each day, this agony was undermining my mental and emotional well-being. I became withdrawn, isolated from friends and family. Someone who used to be an energetic and upbeat person now became like an outcast, haunted by a voice that seemed to know my deepest fears and insecurities. But amidst the despair, there was a glimmer of hope. I realized that I couldn't let this voice define me. I sought solace in meditation and mindfulness, learning to acknowledge the voice without giving it power over me. Gradually, I regained control over my thoughts and emotions, refusing to let the voice dictate my actions. Over time, the voice began to quiet down. Its power diminished as I focused on my inner strength and resilience. I surrounded myself with positive influences and support from loved ones who reminded me of my worth and potential. While the voice will never completely disappear, I have learned to coexist with it. It serves as a constant reminder of the dangers of arrogance and the importance of humility. It has become part of my story, a reminder of the lessons I have learned and the person I have become. Today, I tell my story not as a story of despair, but as a testament to the human spirit's capacity for resistance and growth. We all face challenges and obstacles in life, but it is how we choose to respond to them that defines us. I have chosen to rise above the voice, to embrace my experiences and use them as a source of strength and wisdom. And as I move forward, I carry with me the lessons learned from that ill-fated adventure, reminding myself to heed the warnings of those wiser than me and to approach life with humility and respect for the unknown.